Welcome to our Mosaic film series, and we have a film from Latin America, and this is a very interesting movie. I've been watching a lot of Latin American movies of late, and this one in particular, it kind of gives a slice of life there. Even though it comes from a different time setting, something happens in the 1970s. We'll talk about that. The movie is called Machuca. It was released in 2004, directed by Andre Wood. Incredible movie told from the perspective of children, which is always that what we in the movie language they call an innocent eye, to look at the very chaotic social circumstances, which is set at the time of political what they call coup d'état, where the military, the Chilean military, took over power from the communist government at the time, or at least the socialist government, the left-leaning government at the time. Did I say that this is happening in Chile? Yeah, it's a Chilean film, Machuca. So, Jinjin, in our conversation, obviously we recommend this film. And one of the things that really sticks out, not only in this movie, but in general in Latin American film, it's a big struggle between these classes, right? There's rich and the poor, and there is this conflict, and it kind of, that's the foundation of communism and the class struggle and all that. But instead of just getting stuck in the political debate, let's go to the deeper question the movie is raising, I believe. I think the movie is going even one step down. What is that divide us, right? So, yeah, I would like your perspective on what did you think about that movie speaking to us, particularly on this question of what is that divides us, and obviously what is that unites us, right?
Yeah, so like the first impression after I finished this movie, I just had this super strong impression of how hard it is for human in general to change. And a lot of time that change accompanies a lot of bloodshed and divisions. So I think this film really is a very vivid, very concrete manifestations of how that division happens. And like you just said, so what exactly is the thing that divides us? So in the movie, not giving too much of the plots, but in the movie is clearly, I think the director is showing us what's divide us is all those things that we sometimes as individuals hold dear. For example, certain group really value money. Like they value their economic privileges and status, and we see this in the film. In the little school that all these children attend, even though it's a I think a Catholic school.
Yeah. So
yeah.
that is the context of the film.
Right.
There's this English school, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Or the private school where normally the rich kids study, and
Right.
there is an intentional social integration happens.
Yes.
Where the father, who is a Catholic priest, who is a left-leaning priest, and generally many priests at that time were considered left-leaning, and they are trying to do the social integration project. Yes, that's a context just for the audience. Yes, continue.
And then I think obviously, I think the Catholic priests, they are bearing a certain social function, not only the spiritual in this case, especially in a context in Chile to be specific, but I think a broader sense in Latin America, the one of the social functions of priests or any spiritual leaders is this idea that they are the voice for the people who are oppressed, for the people who don't have a voice. So they are almost like a channel for that part of the conversation to continue in a society. So in this case, in the film of Machuca, we see that this father, he definitely stands in a position where he can wield this kind of power. So what he did is he tried to push through this. You mentioned the social integration program, where he got he gets all these local kids, and to be more precise, they are mixed. They are mixed race, mixed
Yeah,
ethnicity,
yeah. I
mixed
think
ethnic kids,
yeah,
right?
yeah. There is
Yeah,
the European descendants kids,
yeah,
which are normally the students of the class. Then the
yeah,
indigenous
yeah,
tribal kids, I guess, from
yeah.
coming. That's right.
So you add another layer, not only about money
That's right.
anymore. It's about social class and
Yeah,
also about race
race. Yeah.
and ethnicity. So everything that ties to a person's core identity, but they are not the core identity. So here you have all these peripheral problems, I guess, imposed by politics, imposed by your social economic status, imposed by your race and ethnicity, and then all these peripheral questions become they're kind of rushing into the center. They want to become the center of the problem, but they are not the center of the problem. And then it is all these peripheral issues that creates the division. And as we progress and watch this film, it becomes more and more clear.
And there is a humanistic question, right? Like
Yeah.
at that level is where they unite in
Yeah.
a way. And one thing that touched me, obviously they are showing these two different worlds where Gonzalo, who is the rich kid in the story, who visits the neighborhood of Machuca, who is the poor kid, and they become friends. And they see all this oppression, economic from that perspective. He sees the neighborhood, so-called a bad neighborhood, and then Machuca visits Gonzalo, and then you get a contrasting view of the other, right? Like Gonzalo looks at Machuca's world, and the Machuca looks at Gonzalo's world, and it's completely contrasting aesthetically, even the mood. But what I saw is that when Machuca visits this very affluent neighborhood where Gonzalo lives, and he sees in some way the similar kind of pain and struggle and
Yeah.
violence in his family.
Yes.
Even though they are all rich, even
Exactly.
though yeah, he witnesses kind of violence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where that deeper question about humanity. There is the in that level we all go through kind of similar pain, and that's where also the solution comes in, which I like the way you were mentioning before our podcast, that at some time we wonder what this priest was doing. Did it really work? I mean, it's like a forced integration.
Exactly. Yes.
Now we are talking, we are recording this podcast from America, and particularly in a city called Pasadena, which is a poster child of social integration. We are not part of it. This is different ethnicity and different
history. Part of
history of this particular city. People wonder whether it's really good or bad. Even there is the connotations in the society. But anyway, this is not doesn't matter to our audience in that way. But so anyway, throughout the movie, you wonder, was that really a good thing to do, that forced integration? But what did you think about that scene? It is the last scene in which Father McEnroe, who was the when he leaves, the students. Machuca actually says, "Thank you, Father." Suddenly, he shows the guts to stand up, right? And this is in the military general or whoever is sitting there. I mean, he's kind of risking his life to do that. He ended up eventually, I think, getting expelled from the school because of that, I believe. But then all the other students stand up too. So did that resonate with you? I mean, is that communicating us that particular scene, anything specific, or
I definitely, I am so glad that you mentioned about that scene, because I think what has happened in the film from the beginning till that point is almost like a climax. And then right before that, we have seen the whole plot building, and how this plot has been built to reach that point. I think the director is a very he did very he used a very, very delicate and a very sensitive way of showing it. So before we go to the final scene, and we can just maybe rewind a little bit and then look through how the friendship between Machuca and Gonzalo has been built up, right? So you mentioned about this division of poor and rich. So we look at how Gonzalo and Machuca started to get to know each other in the beginning in the school. That's a common space. So they kind of testing each other, trying to get to know each other, and then from this public space we go into the houses. Like you mentioned, they visit each other's house. So here, I think as a viewer, as an audience, we see first of all is of course their economic differences, right? The Machuca's family is really poor. They live in a poor side of the town, and all of the people around them are poor. They live in basically a slums, and they don't have much. And then you have Machuca's family, and then exactly like you mentioned, their family, although is rich, they live in a very well-built house, a nice neighborhood, trimmed trees, and a lot of material possession. But their family has a lot of problems. And then for me, initially when I look at both of them, if you put their house next to each other, I felt that as a viewer, Machuca's family, even though they're poor, but they're very kind. They're welcoming. It takes Gonzalo less difficulties to go into Machuca's home than the other way around.
That's true.
Yeah, when Machuca said, "Can I go to almost like can I go to your house?" And then I remember watching the scene, Gonzalo's face almost all of a sudden become a little bit like, "What? You want to come to my house?" And then within a second he realized, okay, Machuca is my friend, so I should have invited him into my house. But then you watch this flint of a second of this very very almost like fleeting sense of privileges in this rich kid's heart. You see the difficulties may not even be the economic. It's not about the money anymore. And both of them are having difficulties accepting each other. On the surface, it looks like the poor people are kinder. They're more welcoming. The rich people may not be as accepting, but their level of difficulties are the same.
They end up hanging out mostly in Machuca's neighborhood, not in the other neighborhood, obviously. The story almost always plays out, the key aspect of the story. And the painful aspect of it, when I watched the movie, I mean, in a time when I really felt, kind of heartbroken in a way, was that towards the end, where Gonzalo, when he wanted to escape from that neighborhood and from the turmoil, he was just about to get caught. Then he was saying, I'm not from here. I'm from the other side of the neighborhood. Can't you see me? Can't you look? So then the soldier, the military person, looks at his, the dress and then his shoes, and they say, oh, okay, this kid cannot be from this neighborhood. But it's based on the looks he was escaping. And also his European look, and I think he has a blonde hair.
His Adidas shoes.
Exactly, Adidas shoes, and they talk about the brand too, right? That's where it is not just the typical movies are all about the economic or even political divisions, but here it took into that level of visually we are separate. I am, and he in the end that Gonzalo had to play that card, a race card in a way, right, and to escape from the persecution, which was heartbreaking. And I thought, oh man, I like the priest part, the priest part. Where Machuca stands up and says that, thank you, Father, or goodbye, Father Macaron. That was, in a way, bringing redemption to say that, okay, at least his work, maybe it didn't give fruits in the political sense. In the end, he lost everything, but he planted the seed in the lives of the kids. And that scene reminds us of, I don't know if you watched the movie Dead Poets Society.
Yes, I've seen that movie.
So that's the last scene is pretty much the same thing. I don't know who took it from where, but where Robin Williams as a professor, when he goes out, they stand up on the bench or something. They say, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," and sends him off. So anyway, but because it's a sense of approval of what this professor has been doing, or in this case, what this father has been doing. So and also you alluded to this idea of liberation theology, which is prevalent in Latin America, and it's kind of Latin American origin. And I know when we go to seminary and study some of this, and we quite often we take these ideas from the liberation theology, which comes from a different part of the world, which is a product of their social and political circumstances, and apply it directly to the Western setting, and it kind of completely backfires. That's not meant for this world, right? Because you don't go through the same problem they are going through. But again, coming back to your original point, instead of getting stuck on that, we have to go to the deeper level humanistic question as to what brings us together, which is where Father McEnroe's story kind of brings us to, right? Another thing I thought was the idea of the sacred space, and that was a very sacrilegious scene in a way, where Father McEnroe comes and eats all the sacraments, or the bread and the wine, which is for Catholics, that is the body of Christ. Like it's not like the evangelicals. We treat it more as a symbolic element, but for Catholics, it is the body of Christ and it is the blood of Christ. And he gobbles up everything, and he says that this place is not sacred anymore. This place is defiled. So that transition from sacred space to secular space, which was also very interesting. Any other points which stood out to you, Jin? Yeah.
I'm really glad you talk about the sacred space and physical space, because I think that relates to what we earlier on discussed. So what exactly is power, right? So the poor people, they, I guess, draw their power from their poorness. Almost their bitterness becomes their source of power, because they think, we get to, there's one scene that Father Macaron, before he leave the school, he had this parents meeting, and you see whole school's parents are here, the poor side and the rich side, and everybody is throwing their opinions of how this school or the system should run, right? And we hear all kinds of opinions. In a political language, there's left, there's right, and there's moderate, and we hear them all. We hear them all, and then the poor think, we get blamed for all kinds of problems. So if there's a problem, we get blamed, and so they draw their power from their poorness. So I guess in a way, Marxism and all the socialistic ideas really appeal to them. I think this part of, especially the idea of social justice, right? I think this is, spiritually speaking, this idea of social justice is the most spiritual akin idea in the Marxist agenda. This idea of equality that based on material equality. And then we have this group of poor people, they draw their power from there. But we see how fragile that power is at the end. One of the girls, Silvana, who was the like a female friend for Gonzalo and
it's actually a central character in the film.
And then she we don't give spoiler, but we know how that power is very fragile. And for the rich, is they build up everything through an image, almost like a invisible class, like you have mentioned, right? Gonzalo, he at the end he talks to the military soldier and saying, "Look at me, I'm not from here." And his Adidas shoes, his strawberry face, just everything is just loudly shouts that I am not you, and I'm different, I'm special. But that also very fragile. It crumbles down at the end, and then where he rides his bicycle and rush home, and there's a little kids on the road and then playing gun game, right? And then they pew pew pew, like they said shoot him, and then he rides so fast, and then the kid, I think if I remembers correctly, the kids basically shout out, "You should have already been
Oh,
dead.
that's right.
You
Yeah,
should have
yeah,
already
something like
been
that.
dead."
Yeah, yeah,
So that
yeah,
power stems out from all those seemingly
yeah,
privileged life
yeah,
is very fragile
yeah,
as well.
yeah,
So here brings what you have mentioned about the father,
yeah,
Macron.
yeah.
So where does he draw his power that has the binding, the ultimate binding strings for all these different people professing all these different idea and opinions is through a spiritual route. I
Yeah,
think this is what the director has masterfully weave all the complicated storyline,
yeah.
and then he builds up and reach that climax.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe so. Because even the movie is dedicated to a father. I can't remember his name. In the end, it says who was the principal of the school where the director studied. So I think it's based on that character whom the father. So the director had appreciation for. So I think Father McEnroe in some way epitomizes whatever the answer the director wants to give out, I believe. So anyway, we strongly recommend this movie, Machuca. Very difficult film to watch in one way, but it's also visually very appealing or very symbolic. We were talking about this before the podcast, but the way the scenes, the graffiti on the wall, and the posters tell the story, and all this is very interesting visually. This is being connected, and also we would encourage you to Google the political coup d'etat that happened in Chile at the time, because another visual metaphor is the soccer field, and especially towards the end, there is a scene where it says FIFA okays the game.
Everything in Chile is normal.
Exactly, everything in Chile is normal. So I want you to go. Essentially, what happens is there's this World Cup qualifying match between Russia and Chile, and the first leg was played in Russia, and which was a goalless draw. And then the next game was supposed to be played in Chile, and Russia refused to come because of the coup d'etat that happened. Pinochet took the power, and it's all happening in that month, September, October, that time, 1973. And Russia refused to come, but Chile, and they said, well, we will play this game in a normal place, neutral ground, not in Chile or Russia. But Chile said, no, we have to play it here. So FIFA came, inspected the ground, and apparently that soccer field was used as a concentration camp where the military was executing some of the people who were formerly communists. And anyway, but despite all this, and FIFA okayed the match, but Russia still didn't come, and Chile went and played against, like, in an open court. So 30-second, the game lasted 30 seconds, and they kicked a goal, and then they qualified into World Cup. But it's an interesting history, and it's brought up particularly towards the end, and you can see Gonzalo sitting in a soccer field and contemplating, and soccer is in the bloodline of Chile anyway, Latin America in particular. But beyond that, there's that undertone. So if you Google the history of Chile during the 1970s, this movie will be much more impactful, and you will totally understand. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Machuca, 2004 film by Andre Wood. Great movie to watch. A lot of things to learn. We'll see you again.
Thank you.